So let's go. The new Blood Hunter. At least every change I found. Before we start, someone told me that I'm hard to understand sometimes. So check out the subtitles and have patience with this old mumble mouse. Again, here's my reaction to the new version of the Blood Hunter. I love Daggerheart, and the new Blood Hunter is amazing, I think. Yeah, for the most part. Please keep in mind that I have not had time to test it, so even more than usual, that's all just my opinion. This is a large update. The new playtest changes the main class features and two of the subclasses heavily. Some abilities became stronger, others weaker, and some were completely replaced. Also, I do not have to say the same amount of things about the class and all the subclasses, so please check the chapters here. When I speak about the base class, I also start to ramble a bit about the potential evasion build and the multiclass with the Druid. About the order of the Specter, I speak a lot because I love how the mechanics say you cannot kill what is already dead. About the order of the Mutant, I do not say a lot, but damn it, I want to be a monkey. About the order of the Lycan, I have a lot to say because I think the mechanics are creative, but I miss the flavor of the wolf. So just jump to the point you are most interested in, but please like and subscribe before, so that I know that I'm not speaking into the void. But first, let us talk about the big bone in the room. The bladed domain has been replaced by the bone domain. Bone is my favorite domain by far, so of course, I love the change. When I first read the Blood Hunter, the first one, I already thought it was a shame that the class did not got bone, for no other reason than the fact that bone and blood sounds badass. This changes affects the entire role of the class. Blade mainly supported an offensive playstyle. Bone offers different tactical options. I can see the appeal of both Blade and Bone here. Both would have synergies with the Blood domain. Speaking about synergies, higher evasion. The starting evasion increases from 9 to 11 with the new playtest. That are 2 extra points before even at Ancestry's armor or a certain bone card. So the new Blood Hunter will be much harder to hit from the very beginning. Confession time, every time I build a Daggerheart character, I have to stop myself from making another evasion build. And here there are so many options. At level 1, the Order of the Mutant could reach an evasion of 15 if you push everything as far as possible. That's 11, plus Untouchable, plus Simiah, plus Gambus and Armor. At the highest level I think you could reach 13, plus 3 invasion increases, plus Untouchable. That if you take into account the Order of the Mutant specialization and mastery feature, Agility 7 divided by 2 and rounded up to 4, plus 1 for rapidity. That makes 21. But mathematics is my greatest weakness, so please correct me if I got that wrong. Either way, the nimble fighter who dances across the battlefield is my favorite power fantasy. And when I see numbers like that without multiclassing, I start to drawl. But since I'm already talking about multiclassing, I just had an idea. What if you combine the Blood Hunter with a Druid? You would have a Druid with a Bone domain, which already sounds terrifying. But you would also have a Mutant who can change shape. That combination would allow for so many fun tricks, and it could push your evasion even higher. I'm drawing more and more. Maybe this should be my first Daggerheart build. But, Fable Moon. I cannot make my first Daggerheart build on the channel a remake of my first and so far only D&D build on the channel. Maybe the Nimble Fighter is not really my favorite power fantasy. Maybe it's the Mutant Shapeshifter. You never stop learning. And most of all, you never stop learning new things about yourself. Anyway, back to the new Blood Hunter. The Hope feature, Blood Maledict. Blood Maledict was completely rewritten. In the old version, you could spend 3 hope and choose a creature within far range. You could also choose a creature you had seen through Grim Psychometry. Grim Psychometry. Yeah, that thing. After that, you had advantage on all action rolls against their target. It used to be a long-term effect. You choose one enemy, and after that, you became better in almost everything you did against them. The new version works in a completely different way. Now you spend 3 hope after an adversary within close range succeeds in an attack roll. That adversary must reroll the attack with disadvantage. So, Blood Maledict is no longer a long-term offensive bonus, it's now a defensive reaction. The link to Grim Psychometry, yeah, that thing, has been removed. The range has been reduced from far to close. And instead of giving you advantage on many different rolls, the ability can now stop one successful attack. So when an enemy finally gets past your high evasion, you can force him to roll again. I love it. But I have to admit that the theme of the class was stronger in the old Hope feature. Crimson Rite. Crimson Rite has also changed quite a lot. In the old version, you marked a hit point and enchanted one of your active weapons. You could choose whether this weapon did physical or magic damage. It also dealt an extra 1d6 damage at level 1. This increased to 2d6 at level 5 and 3d6 at level 8. In the new version, you still mark a hit point and enchant one active weapon. The effect lasts until the end of your next rest or until you choose Crimson Rite again. The extra damage from Crimson Rite is always magic damage now. The bonus also has been reduced to a d4. The dice are smaller, but you get more of them sooner. So it's kind of a nerf. I do not really mind the nerf itself, but I hate d4s. They do not roll properly. Seriously, if a class or ability utilizes d4s, I may not use it. Next, Grim Psychometry. The old version of Grim Psychometry could be used on a creature, a blaze, or an object within close range. You made a Specter roll against the difficulty of 12. On a success, you mark it as stress, and you saw a vision of the most recent act of violence involving the target. Until your next rest, you had advantage on rolls to recall information about things from this vision. The new version can only be used on a blaze. You still make a spellcast roll against 12, but you no longer have to mark a stress. On a success, you see the last creature that committed violence at this place. Until your next long rest or until you use this feature again, you have advantage on rolls to drag that creature or recall information about them. So, the ability is now free, and it also helps to drag a creature. But on the other hand, it's somehow limited now. You can no longer inspect objects or creatures, and instead of showing you the most recent violence in general, the vision now shows you the person who caused the violence. The new version is less flexible, but is much more focused on the role of a supernatural detective and monster hunter. And it's mostly a flavor feature. But in some kinds of campaigns, it could be very, very useful. It will not automatically solve every murder mystery, it only shows you the last creature that committed violence at this place. That creature might not be the murderer. The violence might also be unrelated to the crime you are investigating. But in the right situation, this feature could still shorten investigation by a lot. I think I like the new version better. It's very atmospheric and it fits the class perfectly, the theme of the class. Let's talk subclasses. The Order of the Ghost Slayer becomes Order of the Specter. The Ghost Slayer didn't just got a new name. The Order of the Specter is a new subclass. Instead of hunting ghosts, he is the ghost. Foundation. The old Foundation first gave you Chasing Death. As long as you had between 1 and 3 unmarked hit points, you could use Crimson Rite without paying its hit point cost. If you had only 1 unmarked hit point left, the extra d6 from Crimson Rite became a d8. This ability has been completely removed. That means the Spectre is no longer the Blood Hunter that can use Crimson Rite more easily or make it much stronger. The second order ability was Shadow Crit. When the GM gained a fear from a duality dice roll, you could mark a stress to gain a hope. In the new version, Shadow Gift works almost in the opposite way. When you succeed on an action roll with fear, you can spend a hope to clear stress. Before, you traded stress for hope, now you trade hope for stress. Whether that is better or worse probably depends a lot on your card choices. It depends whether your build needs more stress or more hope. However, you can now use this feature much less often. Before, you could use it whenever the GM gained fear from a duality dice roll. Now, you only can use it when you personally succeed with fear. The new Foundation feature also gives you Whale Walker. In the old version, Whale Walker was a subclass specialization. You could spend 2 hope, disappear, and appear next to a creature or corpse within fire range. After that, you had advantage on your next attack roll in the scene. In the new Foundation, you mark a stress instead and move up to close range. During the movement, you can pass through creatures and objects. You no longer need a specific target or a corpse, but the starting range is shorter, and you do not get the advantage effect yet. Overall, I really like it. I may be a Evasion Build fanboy, but I find features that only increase damage boring as hell. Waywalk as a movement feature is very atmospheric. It is basically teleportation but described in a different flavor. You take on a ghost-like form and move through creatures and walls. It is very, very cool, and it fits the team perfectly. The new specialization is called Whale Stalker. When you use Whale Walker, you can move to a place within far range. You also have advantage on your next action roll in the scene. Not only on attack, but on any action roll. So the old Whale Walker ability has basically been split between 2 cards. The Foundation lets you move through physical matter. The specialization increases the range and adds the advantage effect. The cost has also changed from 2 hope to 1 stress. That works very well with Shadow Crit, the ability that can help you to clear stress. The advantage on the action roll also fits its team very well. I love it. As Mastery the Spectre gains the new ability card Hound. You cannot be made vulnerable unless your stress slots are completely marked. Apparently, ghosts are staying as cool under pressure as ADHD dealers. After that, you get a variation of Spectral Form. In the old version, Spectral Form was an extra death move. Before, you could clear a hit point, become Spectral, gain resistance to physical damage, and move through objects. The form ended if you cleared another hit point or marked your last hit point. In the new version, Spectral Form is no longer a death move that you choose. Once per long rest, you can use it when you would mark your last hit point. Instead, you mark a stress and enter the Spectral Form. While in this form, you still have resistance to physical damage and can move through physical matter. But there's also a new effect. Whenever you would mark a hit point, you mark a stress instead. The form ends when you mark your last stress or when you clear a hit point. So, in the new version, your stress bar becomes your second health bar. After most of your hit points are gone, further damage is just an annoyance for you. It just stresses you out. That is easier to understand than the old death move, and it's more reliable and much stronger. You are hard to kill, and since you're basically a ghost, that fits the team perfectly. You cannot kill what is already dead. Order of the Mutant. There's little to say about that subclass. Only a few lines were changed to make the rules clearer. It seems that the Mutant already did well in the playtest. But that is a subclass I will use for my next character. I do not only like the flavor of the subclass, I also love my high evasion. So I will soon be playing a mutated Simiah, an edgy Sun Wukong with bloody fur. The story of the Monkey King was one of my favorite stories as a kid. So through introducing the Simiah, Daggerheart taught me that I want to be a monkey. As a kid, I loved the Monkey King, but my nightmares were haunted by werewolves. So let's check if the Order of the Lycan lives up to my fears. With the Old Foundation card, you received a separate werewolf transformation card. You also got advantage on perception that relied on hearing or smelling. With Control of the Beast, you could add the bonus die from your wolf form to agility and strength checks. The transformation card has gone. The new foundation gives you a special hybrid form. You mark a stress to enter it. The form lasts until all your stress slots are marked or until the scene ends. While in hybrid form, you gain a d4 bonus to all action and all damage rolls. The bonus no longer applies only to agility and strength. It improves every action roll and also increases your damage. But there's a new danger, the beast within. The nervous wolf? Whenever you gain a hope while in hybrid form, you also mark a stress. Rolls with hope bring you closer to the end of your transformation. This seems a little off to me. D4 bonus to action rolls is good, but I do think the D4 bonus to damage rolls matters very much. It's not a lot of damage. And I do not like the flavor the beast within evokes. A werewolf should be dangerous, but not anxious. Specialization. The old feature had two defensive abilities. Feral Hide increased your damage thresholds by your tier. Lycan Regeneration allowed you to mark a stress and clear a hit point when all your hit points were marked. You could even do this while unconscious. Both abilities have been removed. The new feature gives you bestial focus. Once per rest, you can place a domain card from your loadout into your vault. You then clear stress equal to that card's recall cost. So you temporarily give up the card to keep your hybrid form going. However, I think you should get more stress back for placing a card into your vault. Only clearing between 1 and 3 stress feels a little weak. Your entire subclass depends on you not running out of stress. For example, the sorcerer. When he places a domain card into his vault, he gets hope equal to the level of the card. So he gets more for more valuable resources for the same price. I am not convinced. The second new ability is feral empowerment. That's simple. The bonus die from a hybrid form increases from a d4 to a d6. I'm not very excited about that, but I love werewolves. When I just thought about werewolves as a kid, I could not sleep. So maybe I want them to be too powerful. I don't know. And maybe some testing of that subclass will change my mind about it. The mastery. The old mastery was called Master of the Beast. When you would mark your last rest, you could instead place your domain card from your loadout into your vault. you could not recall that card until your next long rest. If marking your last rest caused you to enter the frenzy, you also gained your hope. That has been removed. Frenzy is not mentioned at all in the new version. The new master feat gives you Apex Hunter. So, the bonus die from a hybrid form increases from a d6 to a d8. So the new form now has a very clear progression through the three subclass levels. RD4 at Foundation, RD6 at Specialization, and D8 at Mastery. That is effective and elegant. But the damage bonus is still fairly small. And using the same simple bonus for both things feels for me a bit boring, I have to admit. The second mastery ability is Regeneration. When you succeed with Hope while in hybrid form, you roll a d4. If the roll is higher than your current number of unmarked hit points, you clear a hit point. So the more badly hurt you are, the more likely the healing becomes. With 5 unmarked hit points, it cannot walk at all. With only 1 unmarked hit point, it walks on or 2, 3 or 4. The new regeneration can be triggered more often than the old one, but it's random. And is triggered by rolls with Hope, which also made you mark an extra stress because of the beast within. So the Lycan boy seems to be straightforward, but maybe that is what Dragon Breath is going for. A subclass easy to play. But I'm missing a lot here. A lot of werewolf. Yes, the bonus to action rolls covers the physical power of the wolf. You truly become a beast. But what's about the wolf's claws and teeth? Why does the subclass not give you some kind of natural weapon? As the subclass walks now, you are still at your best when you fight with a normal weapon. What about the instinct to hunt and drag your prey? What about speaking with wolves or having a special bond with them? On one hand, adding 1 die to all the action rolls and damage rolls is a very elegant way to express the power of the beast. On the other hand, it does not feel special enough to me. In the end, it mainly increases your chances of success and the damage you deal. But there's some flavor missing. The cost also seems quite high to me. If a seed lasts longer, you will hope for several times, and all your stress is marked, your character becomes much less effective. And you cannot transform again either. I need to test this probably, but for now the subclass feels unfinished to me. And to be fair, I do not think the Lycan simply needs to be stronger. Maybe we could take inspiration from one of the most brilliant role-playing games I have ever read, Fate. More precisely, from Fate's aspects. In Fate, every character has several aspects. They work a little like experience in Daggerheart. But aspects always have two sides. They can help you, but they also can cause problems. For example, Swordmaster who cannot keep his mouth shut could be your aspect. Whenever the Swordmaster fights with a sword, the player can activate the aspect and gain a +2 bonus to the roll. But the character is not only a Swordmaster, they also do not know how to shut up. Whenever there's a situation in which it would be better to be diplomatic or quiet, the player is expected to act out the negative side of his aspect. If the player accepts this problem and acts according to the negative side of his aspects, they gain a fate point. But if they refuse to follow the aspect, they have to spend a fate point. Fate points are the main resource in Fate, a little like hope in Daggerheart. Instead of the general hybrid form, which simply adds a bonus to all action rolls and damage rolls, the Lycan could gain a special facet of the wolf feature as a foundation feature. This facet could begin at +2. Whenever the player enters the new wolf form, they place a number of tokens on the card equal to the spellcast rate. They can spend one token to use the facet. They could use it not only on action rolls, but also on damage rolls and perhaps even to reduce damage. But of course, they could only use it when the situation fits the facet of the wolf. Once all the tokens are gone, the hybrid form ends. The only way to gain new tokens would be to do something negative that fits the facet of the wolf. And just like in Fate, the player would lose a token if they refused to act in a bloodthirsty way when the facet called for it. So the character would have to act like a werewolf to keep the transformation going. Another foundation feature could be claws and teeth. As long as you are in wolf form, your unarmed attacks deal 1d10 plus your level. These ideas would certainly need more work. But for now, it's only meant to show my basic concept or what I would expect from a subclass which has the flavor of a werewolf. And now I start to think that the core mechanics of the brawler with the domains of bone and valor would make a better base class for a werewolf subclass. After all, I do not expect my werewolf to do blood magic, but to be a powerhouse. So, that's it. Those were the abilities of the main class and the subclass. How effective this class really is, and whether it's too weak or too powerful, to understand that, I need to do two things. First, I need to explore how the domains work together. Second, I need to actually playtest it. But when this autistic guy right here gets to that kind of things, he's happy as a pig in a mud. So see you soon. Like, subscribe, and so on and so on and so on. And keep your face, but put down the mask.